Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a BC Lions post-game edition solo episode. As you can see, Cole here coming in after the BC Lions just lost 25 to 24 in week number 7 to the Calgary Stampeders. Unfortunately for the BC Lions, coming up on the wrong end of things tonight, heading into their bye week, now at 5-2. So, will be a lot to talk about. There was not a lot going on in the game in terms of some action. A lot of two and outs for the BC Lions in the first half offensively. But that being said, I think that'll create a lot of discussion here on the show tonight. So before we get going, for anybody that's tuning in on Instagram, on YouTube as well, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. All the support is greatly appreciated. As I said, it will be a solo episode for myself here tonight. So please join me in the chat over on YouTube if you guys are on Instagram as well. Let me know how you guys are feeling about the BC Lions loss tonight to the Calgary Stampeders, falling to 5-2 and second place in the Western Division in the CFL. So let's get into it, I suppose. Blake may be joining us at some point throughout the night. I know he's a little bit busy, unfortunately. We'll be a little bit busy Wednesday night as well. I think Wednesday might be a solo CFF weekly show, but that is all good. We will steer the ship. No worries. I believe it is Blake's little guy's birthday on Wednesday, so they should have a good time and don't want to miss out on anything like that. So let's get into it, guys. As always, game recap, um, likes, dislikes, game balls, a little bit more. We'll talk about the whole game. We'll go from quarter one to quarter four. Talk about what we liked, what I liked. Let me know in the chat how you guys are feeling. Who you got getting game balls tonight, all that good stuff. And we'll go through the game. We got a lot to talk about, even though it was a frustrating game. I've seen some people on social media pretty frustrated with the Lions efforts here tonight going into the bye week. That being said, um, you know, the parity in the CFL, I think, is one thing that needs to be talked about, and on this show specifically, we've talked about it a number of times. So, for people that tune into this show on a weekly occasion, they know. I feel like on any given week, you could get got, if you will, and come out on the wrong side of things, which the Lions were unfortunately tonight. Calgary was a desperate ball club coming in, having two back-to-back losses, like I mentioned, on the three keys to the game. I thought they'd come in pretty desperately. The Wally Wano night, obviously him getting honored, stuff like that. I thought there'd be some energy in the building. Now, Calgary didn't come out as maybe expected or maybe as hot as I thought. In the second quarter, they got going for sure. But early on there, I believe Calgary didn't score until early in the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. So both teams started out a little bit slow, especially Calgary. That being said, Calgary ends up rallying there, finding a way to win the game late. So that's all that matters at the end of the day. Um, Hopefully, I'm coming in okay on Instagram, is my question. That's still working through the old technology of figuring this thing out there, folks, but we'll get through it here. Just give me a second here as I try to double check we are go on Facebook, so we are live on as many places as possible. No, I believe we are not, so I believe we have to go to, give me a moment here, folks. Hopefully we're coming in loud and clear. Public, next, stream key. This is podcasting at its finest right now. 2 seconds here, folks. Stream key, stream key, stream key. Says we are already live, so hopefully we are live on Instagram. Actually, I know a good way to see. My man Wizard Takes, I see you're tuning in on YouTube, brother. Appreciate you. for one tuning in. But did you see by chance if the stream was up on Instagram? It's showing me it is, but when I pull it up on my phone, I can't find it, so I don't believe it is. So we're gonna try to quickly correct that, but it won't let me change it. Yeah, let's see. Stream key, right? Correct. Boom. I believe this should mean we're good to go now. Or maybe not. Um, no, there we go. I believe we're good. Wizard takes so he doesn't see on IG still, which is a little bit shitty, but we can't get it on going on Instagram. It's not the end of the world, I suppose. And we can continue on YouTube. We'll be fine, I guess. Does show that I am. There we go. I think we got her going. Let me see here. Hey, we got her going. We are good to go. All right, folks. We are live on Instagram as well. Let's get this BC Lions post-game show underway officially. Um, my man Wizard Takes tuning in on YouTube. I appreciate you. Like I was mentioning, Blake is, I believe, reffing tonight and or play-by-playing tonight. So he might be joining us throughout the show at some point, but I know he's pretty caught up, and I don't think Blake will be able to join us here on the show tonight. But that's all good. We can control the ship here, as you guys can see, working on the fly, trying to set everything up solo. But no big deal. Let's get into the BC Lions post-game recap show before we waste any more time here on the show. So, um, pretty frustrating first half. If I'm being honest, I was just getting home from a weekend of camping, which was a good break, a good little breather away from football. Although I was still tapping in throughout the weekend of the CFL action, and then I know my man Wizard Takes would appreciate having the CGFL games on as well. On Saturday, I was able to tune into obviously my VI Raiders coming out on the short end of things. I was able to watch a little bit of the Langley Oki game afterwards, and then for the most part, kind of checked out for most of the weekend, which was kind of good. Take a little bit of a breather away from the whole social media, the podcasting world, YouTube, all that sort of stuff, and just enjoyed myself. It was a lot of fun to get away. Did look like I kind of missed out on a few good games that came down to the wire, although there wasn't a lot of scoring that was going on around the CFL. But excited to go check out those when I'm able to, maybe after the post game show and into the week as we prepare for our weekly show on Wednesday night. So, frustrating first half, like I'm getting back to as we're talking about some BC Lions, getting back to the Lions. Um, Frustrating first half, a lot of two and outs for both sides. Um, in the first quarter, I guess you can let's just start there. The Lions started with back-to-back two and outs. Calgary had a drive in there that I believe they had a first down or two, and then they end up punting as well. Um, Not a lot of traction offensively early on for either teams through at least the first 15 minutes. Calgary scored, I believe two touchdowns in the second quarter, but through the first quarter, it was, I don't believe the penalty started kicking in to about later in the first quarter, into the second quarter there, and kind of slowed things down getting into halftime. But just an overall not a smooth game offensively for either side until Calgary had some moments for sure. I will give Jake Mayer his flowers tonight, if you will. Been pretty critical of him on the channel for those that have tuned in for a while. That being said, when he does play well, have to acknowledge that and let him know that he does play well because he is a professional quarterback. That being said, I just think Calgary with some of the weapons, we saw with Clark Barnes tonight, we saw, Jalen Philpott have some flashes. Obviously, Reggie Bagleton's been doing it for a number of years now in the CFL. I feel like they could have more of these performances offensively if Jake Mayer was able to be a little bit more consistently. consistent. With that being said, great game by him tonight. I think he executed when he needed to. Wasn't the crispest of games, but when he needed to, he made sure that his team took the ball into scoring, position, came away with either touchdown or field goal, and they came away with a win. So a win is a win, although it isn't a quarterback stat in my opinion. Jake Mayer did a good job in kind of leading his team to victory here tonight for the Stampeders. So the Lions finally started to get things going with a 7-play, 83-yard drive that was capped off by a Stanley Berryhill touchdown. Mr. Berryhill's first career touchdown that looked like a pretty risky of a throw out to the right flats from the broadcast angle. Vernon Adams was, going through his progression, ends up coming back to his right flat, and Barry Hill's there. I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, Nick Stats, former University of Calgary alum, that was coming downhill, that was trying to break up the pass, got there a second late. Barry Hill was able to hang on to the ball, a contested catch, make Stats miss, and then get into the end zone for his first career touchdown, making it 7-0. I want to say with maybe about 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, like I mentioned, both teams trading two and outs there early on. Calgary getting a little bit of a drive going on, and then they end up punting. Barry Hill ends up capping off the Lions' first drive, and when the Lions were able to score, they had some good drives. I believe the McInnes touchdown drive was another 8-play drive. So they had this drive being what was it, 7 plays for 83 yards. The other one I want to say was 8 or 9 plays, the McInnes one. They put some drives together. They just weren't able to do it as accustomed to we've been seeing all season. Um, and that's going to happen throughout a 18 game season, 21 week long season. You're just going to have these kind of performances. Unfortunately, you don't want them to snowball into anything more. I think it's probably best case scenario that the Lions are heading into their bye week after a performance like this. Flush the performance. It will hang in their craw a little bit. Will hopefully linger a little bit into preparation for, I believe, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the other side of the bye. And hopefully, you're able to, be a little bit pissed off coming out of the bye week of, what, we didn't have the greatest performance. We got to come out here, show why we have been one of the better teams in the CFL through 7 weeks. And I think and believe that the Lions will do so. So it's unfortunate that they have a performance like this going into a bye. Won't see BC for 10 days, I believe. But that being said, I think this will motivate the bunch to come out on the other side, better ball club. So Stanley Berryhill makes it 7-0 for BC, and I believe this is where the flags started coming in quite a bit, as well as Vernon Adams was starting to get banged up, which the bye week for him probably comes at a great time. I know he's been battling through some stuff, knee injury, core injury a little bit as well. Just the life of a professional quarterback, the bumps and bruises that come along the way. So he was going through it. There was definitely some, camera angles panning to him on the sideline of him holding his ribs, stuff like that. We saw and heard from Mr. Cameron Judge after the game. Knows Vernon Adams quite well. I believe their time playing college football against each other. And I would say Cam Judge and that defense probably got the best of Vernon Adams tonight. And Cam Judge was making him feel it early on. So, like I said, the bye week probably comes at a perfect time for Vernon Adams to rest up. And nobody more on that BC Lions team will be motivated heading out of the bye week than Vernon Adams after a performance like this. I guess this might be a good time to pull up the stats. Not a great night, any way you slice it. For Vernon Adams tonight, 17-31, not the greatest. 192 yards, not even over 200 yards passing tonight. Was held in check there, and 2 touchdowns passing to 2 interceptions. So both of them canceling each other out. Wasn't able to run the ball effectively either. I guess wasn't able to run the ball. I don't know if effectively is the right word when you have 3 carries for 14 yards, basically 5 yards average. But not being able to be a threat, I guess, with his legs more than 3 times. So, Vernon Adams, not a great performance from him. And he was starting to feel it there early on. I think that kind of showed with a few misses of him maybe just not feeling comfortable there in the pocket, not, you know, feeling the pressure there early on will creep into your performance, I feel like, in the second half. And, There was I want to say maybe 2 or 3 opportunities that Brandon Adams probably would like to see back or, would like to have back that, maybe a step or 2 too long for his receivers. I can think of, off the top of my head, the Eberhardt one. There's another one, I believe, the Stanley Berryhill, Kieran Passant as well, who we saw CJFL alum make his second consecutive start. Was able to haul in another reception. I believe it was one reception for 11 yards was his total stat line, if I remember correctly, just taking a quick peek. But y actually, no, Kieran Passant with 2 receptions for 14 yards, had 3 targets. Could have been 3 targets, 3 receptions. Probably this, reception yards instead of 14 probably looks like, maybe 45. It would have been maybe a 20, 25-yard, touchdown if Vernon Adams was able to hit him in stride. Was open, but VA, like I said, a couple of throws that he would have liked to have back here tonight, though that would have been one of them for sure. And getting back into the game recap here, the Stamps took over the ball late in the first quarter, going into the start of the second quarter, going into the second quarter. The Stampeders scored on a Reggie Begelton touchdown 4 plays in. I believe it was Patrice Rene who was in on coverage. Was a little bit of it was a pretty clever route by Reggie Begelton. That being said, I thought Patrice Rene got beat a little bit too easy on that touchdown pass. I would like to see him fight through that a little bit more. Um, that being said, Reggie Begelton's one of the better receivers in the CFL, like I mentioned a little bit earlier. You're just going to get got sometimes. That's the way things are in professional sports. The other guys on the other side are paid, just like you. So would like to see Patrice Rene maybe stay in his hip pocket just a little bit more. But that being said, Reggie Begelton was able to get past him, hold on to the touchdown. Jake Mayer was able to find him and make it 7-7 early on in the second quarter. And then that's where the punt fest basically began. I believe it was maybe 4 or 5 possessions in a row. I don't remember exactly how. I didn't have it. My notes in the first half weren't as good as I was, like I mentioned earlier. Getting home from camping was somewhat unpacking things as well as kind of dozed off on the couch uh, for a little bit of the first half there, just as, like I mentioned, a little bit of the punt fest of just not keeping me as entertained. Getting home from camping, like I mentioned, um, the second half, I was, things starting a little bit happen a little bit more. Both teams, even though the third quarter would happen super quick, I want to say both teams only had one possession. Maybe Calgary was the team that had two because they started the half with the ball with 2 possessions. But I want to say both teams had two long scoring drives. BC was one just under 5 minutes. That was um, their first drive, second drive of the third quarter, and then Calgary went on a long scoring drive that answered and kind of that was maybe one of the first signs for me that going into the locker room, I believe it was 14-10 if I'm not mistaken. Not too much panic. I thought it's the CFL, BC only being down 4 points. The offense, hopefully they could wake up in the second half, which never happened. But once Calgary answered after BC scored that first drive of theirs in the third quarter, I thought, oh, okay, maybe Calgary is going to hang around a little bit in this second half here and make things interesting a little bit more than um, not maybe expected, but um, that's when I guess doubt creeped in for a little bit, probably the first time for me throughout the game. So back to the second quarter as I get all over the place here. The punt fest began. I want to say it was maybe, like I said earlier, 3 or 4 possessions in a row before Peyton Logan had a nice return. I want to say it was about 30 or so yards that set up Calgary in nice field position. And a few plays later, Tyson Philpott was able to haul in a beautiful touchdown pass, keeping in one toe and putting up the Calgary Stampeders 14-7. And was nice to see Philpott be featured here tonight. I don't know what his final stat line was, but it was nice to see him get a few targets. Nice to see him make a few plays. Um, because I think there's some more there for Mr. Jalen Philpotts. 8 targets, 6 receptions, 79 yards, and 1 touchdown. He also had 1 carry for 9 yards as well. I like when they get him in the backfield, get him involved, get him the ball in any way he can. Growing up in BC, in the BC area here, not playing against him, coaching against the Siakam Seahawks, I believe it is, through a little bit of my coaching career. Coached against both the Philpott brothers. Both of them had time playing running back. They're both their high school did a good job of just getting the ball in their best players' hands, and not really forcing them to play receiver. They found that they both had talented guys that could play receiver and be not nearly as good as having Jalen or Tyson play receiver, having them both play receiver, but just getting the ball in both their hands. I liked that kind of mentality, and I think Calgary needs to do a little bit more of that because um, I don't know if Jalen can maybe thrive as well as Tyson is in Montreal with. I think Cody Fajardo, tough to say is head and shoulders by any means, but I think it is a reasonable gap, and it is maybe crazy to say, and maybe this would be a hot take a few years ago with Cody, not being able to get it done in Saskatchewan. I know he has his fair share of haters, but there is also his fair share of fans and people that have been rooting him on for a long time. I've been saying this guy is deserving of everything that has come his way. I think Cody is reaping the benefits of a lot of hard work throughout the years. I personally like what I've seen from Cody the last season and a half in Montreal, and I I don't think, excuse me, that Jalen can have the amount of success that Tyson is having in Montreal. So I believe get him involved a little bit more throughout the ground. I don't think Mills had some timely runs, a lot of back-breaking runs, a lot of efficient runs there. But 14 carries for 48 yards, that's 3.4 yards average per carry. Not the greatest, right? Maybe you see that 14 carries come down to 10 carries. You give those other 4 carries to Jalen Philpott and see what he can do coming out of the backfield with those opportunities. So um, I'm curious to see how Dave Dickinson continues to handle him as Jalen continues to build a little bit of momentum here in the season. So he gets his, I want to say maybe his second or third touchdown here in the season through 7 weeks, and puts his Stampeders up 14-7. BC responded with a field goal by Sean White, his 40th consecutive made field goal, and the Stampeders took over the ball, weren't able to do anything, gave it back to BC with a little over maybe a minute left to go. BC was driving, not in the field goal range quite yet, I believe. And then Vernon Adams threw his first interception of the night, uh, ending all hopes of getting any points there before the half. So, like I mentioned, the score before halftime was 14-10 for Calgary after Vernon Adams throwing his first interception of the game. Um, Ending the half there. Calgary took over. I believe it was maybe a run play and then a kneel down to end the half. So let's get in the second half game recap as we keep going here in the post game recap show. And as we get going here, hope anybody that is tuning in on Instagram is enjoying the live stream every week now on Instagram. From now on, when Blake is able to join me, we will both be live on YouTube as well as Instagram from now on. Unfortunately, not able to go live on Twitter no more with the premium account restrictions. So gonna shift things to going live on Instagram as well, since you're able to on the StreamYard platform. So excited to go live on Instagram for the remainder of the season for the CFF weekly shows every Wednesday night, as well as the post-game recap shows after every BC Lions game throughout the season. So let's continue into the second half here, folks. Anybody that's tuning in on Instagram, please continue to let us know how you're feeling in the chat. Not able to uh, have them up simultaneously, unfortunately. But if you're able to head over to YouTube, and we can get all your comments in the chat that are brought up for us right here. So let's get into the second half as the Stampeders opened up with a field goal drive, making it to 17-10. And Sione Chihama was able to get on the board with his first sack of the season. He's been active. He's been around the quarterback, getting some pressures, getting some tackles for loss, being active in the run game as well, but not able to get his first sack of the game. And he had himself quite the second half. I believe he finished with 2 sacks. Might have had a sack and a half credited to a half sack there, that second one. But the first one was all him for sure, a solo sack, bringing down Jake Mayer, putting them into second and long, and then not converting on second down. Calgary settled for a field goal, making it 17-10. BC took over the ball and was able to lead, and Vernon Adams was able to lead a touchdown drive capped off by Justin McInnis once again. Like I mentioned earlier, the times that they were able to get going, the times that they were able to look, like themselves, they had some success, accustomed to what we've been seeing all season. Another drive, 8 plays, 70 yards this time. Um, McInnis is able to find the end zone, tying things up at 17. But from there on out, BC was just basically from those 2 points on, the I believe maybe the fourth or fifth possession for BC in the game, and then the first possession of the second half. Other than that, BC was pretty pretty frustrating, pretty hard to watch offensively. A lot of mistakes, a lot of penalties, a lot of punts. Stephen Flintoff was quite active tonight, which is never a good sign. Um, Although, it doesn't hurt when it comes in a win. When it comes in a loss, it is a bad sign. That being said, BC comes out 1 point short. If we see Flintoff this many times in a win, you know, maybe it kind of goes over a little bit more, or goes a little bit quietly. That being said, just too many missed opportunities as well. Um too many missed opportunities. So 17-17 for the tie game there in the third quarter. And then the Stampeders drove the field and were set up on first and goal, I believe, on maybe the 5 yard line or so, and BC was able to hold for the first 2 plays, setting up a third down and goal. Dave Dickinson being aggressive, going for it from the 3 yard line, if I'm not mistaken. And BC was able to get a stand, and was great to see this guy make a play, getting back in the lineup. TJ Lee coming off his torn Achilles from last year's Western final versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Want to say it's now, what is he, 7.5, maybe 8 months since injury, which is incredible for his recovery rate. And, you know, had maybe a miscommunication on the Clark Barnes touchdown later in the game that we will talk about with Gary Peters, where, maybe they had, it looked like somebody was they both went with the Jalen, the slot receiver Jalen Philpott, who ran a corner route, and then Gary Peters at the last second realized that Clark Barnes was underneath, running a shallow out route around the goal line. Gary, I don't know if he realized that he was in the wrong, or maybe TJ was in the wrong, came off that corner route and was a little bit late tackling Clark Barnes in the end zone, which we'll get into later. But was really good to see TJ Lee back in the lineup, starting and make an impact play with the third and goal stop on a big open field tackle. Was able to bring down his receiver and make sure that the Stampeders held out of the end zone. Now, in 2020 hindsight, this might have been I don't know if it's a mistake, because once again, BC's backed up on their, around their 1 yard line. I don't remember 100% if BC had the ball on their 1 yard line last week versus Saskatchewan, when Burn Adams threw the pick on their own goal line last week. But this week, they get the ball on their own 1 yard line, and they drop back to pass once again. And Tyler Packard, now I thought it was pretty questionable in my opinion, was called for a holding call. Who Tyler Packer's been filling in for Michael Couture for six games now. Michael Couture being placed on the 6 game injured list after week 1 versus the Toronto Argonauts. Packers had himself quite a good time. He's been, pretty quiet, which is a good thing for offensive linemen to, hang under the radar, not be too noticeable, because he hasn't been called for too many holding calls. He's been, quietly doing his job, no bad snaps or anything like that. He gets called for one tonight, which ends up resulting in a safety for the Calgary Stampeders, because Vernon Adams was in the end zone, the ball being in the end zone. I thought it was very questionable. Thought he was good, and going to the ground, a little bit of a hold, but I thought he was. I thought it was, a play that the ref could have let go, and I thought that game already had. I thought it was 23 penalties, if I'm not mistaken. I heard throughout the broadcast. I'll check that quickly here, as we're going. Yeah, so the Calgary Stampeders had 12 penalties for 180 yards total, while BC had 11 for 70 only. So BC still, a blown opportunity there with how many penalties and penalty yardage that the Calgary Stampeders sacrificed. So tough call for Tyler Packer, who's been performing pretty well, but he's called for the safety, and that makes it 19-17. And then from there was doubt started to creep in even more. Um, you know, damn, not like the we haven't been really going too much all day offensively. Um, we get some momentum off the third and goal stop, and Calgary's able to snatch it right back, especially being at home. Their fans really got right back into the game, and the worst thing about the safety, right, is you're not able to. It's not like uh, a touchdown or a field goal where you get the ball right back. You have to punt the ball right back to Calgary. I don't believe Calgary was able to do anything with it. It was actually the possession, yeah. So Calgary getting the ball right back after the safety, taking the 2-point lead, 19-17. Was able to get a BC was able to get a 2 and out, and then Terry Williams is able to get, I want to say, maybe a 30 or so yard return and turning it into only a 6 yard net punt. BC taking over around midfield, flipping field position, taking back hold of the field position advantage. So BC not able to do anything meaningful, I will say. They are able to get a field goal, but this is the point where, I talked about earlier, Wizard Takes mentions here in the chat. Basant was wide open. I will say wide, maybe not wide open. I'll kind of maybe agree with you was open, but VA missed him like he was all night. Just was simply off. And this was a big moment, I thought, that, uh, Calgary's not able to do anything, not able to take a two-score lead after the safety. You get the ball back. You also get to flip field position. Calgary's able to get the ball around their own 35 or so yard line, go 2 and out. You get a 30-yard return. You're able to take over around I want to say midfield or so, and you're driving in enemy territory. Kieran Persant's running across the route. He comes open. He beats his defender. If he puts it on him, if he puts even a little bit more air and leads him into the corner of the end zone, he still had, I would say, maybe 5 or 6 yards to the corner of the end zone, to the sideline, where he could have had, an opportunity to get his feet down, make a sideline catch. And Vernon Adams just missed him, was simply off um, all game, and was a big opportunity here. This pass right here in the Eberhardt missed corner route was two opportunities that I thought Vernon Adams just needed to find his receiver. He needed to make sure that the ball ended up in his receiver's hands on both those occasions. Um, and BC ends up kicking Sean White's 41st consecutive field goal, making it 20-19. BC taking the lead once again, and Calgary would answer. This is what I mean about Calgary answering, which was kind of a little bit concerning because in the past maybe BC's defense was able to keep them at bay, maybe get a stop or two where it seemed like every time BC would get a little bit of positivity, although there wasn't much positivity offensively all night. Calgary would just respond, and Clark Barnes responded with two back-to-back big plays. One on a receiver screen, making Ronald Kent Jr. miss. Curious to see what's going to happen now when Manny Rugamba comes back. I would think Ronald Kent Jr. Seems like he's been a fan favorite. I know people after the Arrow Up documentary and stuff like that been behind the guy, rooting for him, myself included. I think he's a great guy. That being said, I think he struggled a little bit. Seems like more often than not he's on the wrong side of things. Now maybe that's you can contribute that to who's on the other side, who's playing the other boundary half. That's been TJ Lee, it's been Manny Rugamba, who's I think Manny Rugamba's been playing at a CFL All-Star caliber, and then TJ Lee, who's a former CFL All-Star, I thought played although it was a fairly quiet night from him, not too many targets thrown his way. I thought is held his own coming back from injury. Didn't look too rusty by any means, although wasn't paying attention to him fully. It's hard to with the broadcast angle, but you know thought he played well, and maybe that's just unfortunately, an unfortunate thing for Marlon Kent, him having to play the field side, being across from some really high caliber guys. He's getting targeted more often than not, but it seems like he's just a half step too slow. And I would think that once Manny Rugamba is ready to go after the bye week, hopefully Marlon Kent Jr. is going to slide back into a reserve role. Manny Rugamba might go to the field side, and I think the Lions will be set up in the secondary from there, hoping to stay healthy from that point on. So let's get into it as Clark Barnes takes the screen pass down to the 5 yard line. On the very next play, he scores a touchdown, and that was I don't know if it was a miscommunication. I'm curious to see or if it will come out. It was a into the boundary. Jalen Philpott was playing the slot receiver route, and Clark Barnes was playing the outside receiver, the boundary receiver. Ran a little bit of a bang out underneath by Clark Barnes. Jalen Philpott running the corner route took both the corner Gary Peters and the half TJ Lee deep. Gary Peters a little bit too late realized that he needed to come down, or TJ either blew his assignment and they just needed to, um, you know, that's not playing together for a few weeks here. That Gary's been accustomed to maybe some different halves. He's been playing with Manny, who's a guy that he's familiar with, but maybe he's not. TJ and Gary have been working together for years, where they can, make plays and read each other's body language probably better than any two guys. Maybe in the CFL, definitely on the BC Lions, but maybe in the CFL as well. Both guys that have been veterans, been playing in the same secondary for quite some time now together, for a lot of years on the same side of the field as well. So maybe that was one of those plays where TJ thought, I'm going to stick here. Please just read my body language. You come down. You take Clark Barnes. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. They were just a half a second too late. Gary Peters comes down, but it was, like I just said, half second too late. Clark Barnes already had the ball in his hands and it turned upfield into the end zone, making it 25-20 for the Calgary Stampeders, and would be the game-winning field goal there in the fourth quarter. And this was another opportunity I thought that Vernon Adams missed, that he would definitely like back, and I would think if he gets the opportunity to watch film, whether it's on the plane home tomorrow morning, whatever it may be, next week. Uh, Sam Peters were called for pass interference. It was the pass interference that Coach Dave Dickinson called a challenge flag on. Looked like a little bit questionable, but on one of the sideline angles, it looked like the defensive back kind of impeded McInnes's progress a little bit. I thought it was not the greatest throw. So I thought, if I'm a Stampeders fan, if I'm a Stampeders supporter, I would have probably been a little bit frustrated as well on seeing that call. But it looked like it was a little bit of a dagger concept. For those that aren't aware what a dagger concept is, excuse me for my phone ringing there, folks. Justin McInnes and Glenn Suter was mentioned it on the broadcast. A deep in route with a seam route. Justin McInnes has been, living on that deep in route all season, and the defender kind of fell underneath it and or that was, I guess, the interception when he was over the top. The defender was, I would say, maybe a half second too early by slowing him down, kind of starting to lead on Justin McInnes. Was called for the pass interference. If VA, maybe, I don't know if he didn't see him, takes his eyes to Alex Hollins, who was maybe from the angle, maybe just he couldn't see Alex Hollins. Alex Hollins is a smaller statured guy, while McInnes is, I believe, 6'4", 6'5". Very easily could have been covered up, but if he leads them, especially to the middle of the field, that's a big play for Alexander Hollins, if not a big play touchdown, where, me being the, whatever you want to call me, fan analyst, I question, is there any sort of doubt now from, recent weeks of Alexander Hollins not being able to haul in some of these catches, where, VA just had that half second hesitation where he didn't want to pull the trigger on a deep pass to Alexander Hollins, who, if VA just hits him in stride, it's a big play for sure. If he hits him in stride and is able to keep going, it's a touchdown, because I don't know if that defender, the backside corner, was able to track him down. If it was a money ball, if it was, a ball that he had to, wait for, it's a big play and then he's tackled. I'm curious to, what was going on in Vernon Adams' head there on that play. But, Coach Dave Dickinson throws a challenge flag, isn't rewarded. I would have thrown a challenge flag as well. I thought it was a softer pass interference call, but BC keeps marching, and that was the next play was the Burnham's missed Eberhardt corner route. Eberhardt was wide open, would have caught the ball, and I think continued into the end zone. Another opportunity for 6 points that the Lions couldn't convert, and another opportunity where Sean White was called upon. I'm curious to see where his range is. It was another opportunity where I believe around that 45 or so yard line is probably where you're going to want to cap things off. Sean White's never had the biggest leg, but they get around the 45-yard line and kick this 52-yard field goal on that drive, making it 23-25. And great to see Sean White make it from over 50. And I believe that was number 42 consecutive in a row by Mr. Automatic. Sean White continues to have himself quite the season. It's crazy to realize how many more he has to go to catch Lewis Ward, who was obviously on one heck of a heater throughout his streak. So Lions cut it to 25-23 there late in the fourth quarter, and the Stampeders take over the ball, going 2-and-out once again. And Sione Tiama, don't know if they're going to credit him with a full sack, along with, I want to say it was Jonah Tafai, wrap up Jake Mayer, taking him down for a sack. And the Stampeders punt the ball right back to BC. And the basically final nail in the coffin for any, I guess, maybe realistic fans or just in the CFL, anything could happen, obviously, right? With a lot of time with 3 minutes to go, but Lions take over the ball after that and are somewhat, they're putting together a drive, and Vernon Adams ended up throwing an interception with 3 minutes to go. This was the play that I thought about earlier. Another play that Judge McInnes was running, that deep in route. The halfback cut underneath it. Definitely was using a little bit of his instincts, feeling where Justin McInnes was going, able to fall underneath. Now, I think if V puts it out a little bit more in front of McInnes, he has a more of an opportunity to haul us in. That being said, I think it was great coverage. I think either way, it was probably a incomplete pass or an interception, like it was. Just I think it was probably the wrong read by Vernon Adams, who was thinking McInnes was going to get a little bit more separation out of his break. He didn't. The defender falls right underneath, basically is in his hip pocket the entire time. Gets the interception with 3 minutes to go, and that iced things from there, which was crazy because like I said, doubt from there pretty much creeps in. I start to get ready for the post game show, start to look over the stats, all that sort of stuff. Calgary taking over the ball, and then we have Jalen Philpott, I believe, had the ball on the receiver screen. Adrian Green, BC Lions safety, comes down, able to wrap up Jalen Philpott, and as well as he's doing that, punches the ball free. Deontay Evans, it comes right to him, jumps on the football, and for whatever reason, that egg-shaped ball jumps out of his hands. Nobody, there's people around him, but nobody contesting him for the ball at the moment. Just not sure how he's not able to recover the football. He loses possession for the Lions, and Jalen's able to jump right back on the football after it squirts out of Siontay's hands, and the Stampeders retain possession and are able to hold on and ice things out, taking the 25-24 victory from there. BC, I believe the one of the punts there late in the game gave them a single point, making it 24-25, losing by one. Ultimate heartbreaker. Had a lot of opportunities to win, but that being said, if ands or buts. Hard to use that in professional football. I think sometimes you're going to lose throughout a long regular season. Football sometimes gets a little bit because it's so short. People could tend to overreact from one game, right? But I think losing one game in football is almost like losing 5 games in the NHL or the NBA, something like that. Because of the NBA, the NHL, they're playing 80 something games a year, where the MLB is playing 100 something games a year. Football is only playing 16, 17, 17, 18 games a year. In college, they're playing 10 games a year, where just physically you couldn't do it on your bodies. You're not able to. People wouldn't be able to last that long throughout a season if they're able to. So I see my man tuning into the chat. Blake, miss you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I saw your three keys to the game. I thought, looking at obviously, Mills having the three receptions for 33 yards. I thought we were able to contain him on the ground, though. 14 carries for 48 yards, only having 3.4 yards average on the ground wasn't too much to worry about. And, you know, I guess you would like to see him, contain them a little bit more, but um, I didn't think that was the worst of our issues today. I think if we could have slowed down, Jake Mayer would have been a little bit better. But what else does Blake say here? McKinnis, 55 yards, not enough of the ball, and the Stamps were able to stay close all game. Yeah, I think that's just um, for me. McKinnis isn't going to be able to keep this pace up throughout an 18-game season as much as everybody would like to. It's not. It's just not realistic. Like I was just talking about a long 18-game season. You're going to have a few of these games throughout the year. Alex Hollins needs to step up a little bit more. He's had himself a tough 3 weeks here. That we'll get into that in our likes and dislikes in a little bit. But I guess that kind of leads, I guess, perfectly maybe into our likes and dislikes here as we end the game recap. Lions losing at 25-24. For those that are tuning in on YouTube, please let me know how you're feeling in the YouTube chat. For those that are tuning in on Instagram, please like, follow, all that good stuff. If you guys are able to, head over to the YouTube and contribute in the chat if you're able to. So let's continue with our likes and dislikes here on the show. Let's start with our dislikes, who Blake's just putting it in here in the chat. McKinnis, 55 yards, not enough of the ball. I think that, not enough of the ball. You could say that for sure. But um, But Blake says, but all in all, I'm mad, and 10 days is too long to stew on this. Blake will be all good, although it will be a frustrating 10 days. It will be a nice little breather away from football, I feel like. And all is good, my friend. 5-2, not too much, not too much to stress. First place surrendered in the Western Division, but still the same amount of wins as the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They may take a one-game lead. That being said, we will see them down the road. I think BC will come out of the bye a better football team from this. So Justin McKinnis, 8 targets, 3 receptions, 55 yards, 1 touchdown. 3 receptions, 55 yards, 1 touchdown. Not the most glamorous, or maybe what we've been used to seeing from Justin McKinnis here through 6 weeks. That being said, would have liked to see the supporting cast around him step up a little bit more. Alexander Hollins, 1 reception for 7 yards. Let's put out the let's put him on the milk carton. Where is Alex Hollins? Like I was just saying, a rough 3 weeks for him. Going back to maybe it's a rough 4 weeks for him, going back to the uh, Edmonton Elks home game a few weeks ago, last home game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, having multiple drops, touchdowns, and opportunities thrown his way. I believe he had a 14 target, 5 reception game thrown in there, or something like that. So has been very frustrating. Need to see more from Alexander Hollins. Not too sure if he's hurt, what he's going through. Um, it is, I feel like, a great time that we are getting Keon Hatcher back, hopefully after the bye week. No, it was rumored that he was going to play this game, not ready to go. I would think that, maybe they're ready to let him go after the bye week. If not, no worries, to be honest. Let him be 100%, let him feel 100% ready to go when he comes back. If you're able to get him back, I think Alexander Hollins is going to get that much more confidence, and then he'll start to get more looks. Right, teams won't start to try to take him away. It's hard to double receivers in the CFL. It's hard to totally take away one side of the field. That being said, I think things are going to open up even more once Keon Hatcher opens up and gets into the lineup. Teams are starting to key in on Justin McKinnis and Alexander Hollins. Although I will mention, Aiden Eberhardt had himself another solid night. I think Aiden, it's been a problem of, we've said all season of, a lot of mouths to feed in the offense. That being said, I think at this point now, Aiden's been, I feel like, consistent all season. We need to see him be targeted a little bit more. Tonight he has 5 targets for 3 receptions on 45 yards. Now it should have been 5 targets, 4 receptions. For if he's able to catch the ball and go down, probably about 65 yards. If he's able to catch the ball and keep going, it's probably about 75, 80 yards and a touchdown on 4 receptions. So would like to see Aiden Eberhart featured a little bit more in the offense, start to scheme him up, get him a little bit more looks. I think he's been a reliable. He's been consistent when he's called upon. He's getting the ball. He's getting first downs, and the Lions are in rhythm when Eberhardt's a feature in the offense. So at this point, I think with Alexander Holland's in a little bit of a slump here, it's time to feature Aiden Eberhardt a little bit more. I don't see what he's done wrong, or it's tough sometimes. He hasn't necessarily done wrong, but sometimes for whatever reason, VA looks right when Eberhardt's on the left side of the field. It's all about opportunity. It's all about being in the right place at the right time. Maybe you're a little bit too slow. You don't come into VA's read. You don't come into his line of vision at the right time. So it's a tough thing playing receiver because like I was saying, it's all about opportunity. But I think it's time for Aiden Eberhardt to be featured a little bit more in the Lions offense because I think he's shown that once the ball's thrown his way, he's produced in that occasion. So dislikes, I would say, what were we going to with dislikes here? Alex Hollins was my dislike. I would say the inability to um, it's hard in the CFL because you look at the stat sheet after the game. The Lions had, I would say, close to double-digit tune-outs, which is in the CFL. It's hard, right? But William Stanback 9 carries, 64 yards, 7.1 yards average with a 16-yard long carry. So would love to see the carries. Maybe you give only 9 carries. Would love to see William Stanback have anywhere of 15 to 20 carries per week. Now in the CFL, it's so hard to try to establish a running back with only having 2 downs, punting so much already. I do get it that you can have a little bit of doubt creep into the back of your mind as offense coordinator of damn, we really have to get a first down here. We can't run the ball. We have to put it in the air. But I think once it's not going for a period of time there, the first half, on second down, you're going to anyways. You might as well try to run the ball. Let's see what William Stanback's able to do. He's churning out 7.1 yards on average every time he touches the ball. Why not give him the ball? The offensive passing game wasn't clicking. Let's try to win this game on the ground. Where I think that's been a uh, you know uh, I don't even want to say a weak point because Max Simics had a lot of success. I've been a very big fan of Max Simic here on the channel for his time being my 3 years uh, in the podcast world now. Really big fan of what Max Simic's done. It's hard to argue with any of his success, but I would think his biggest criticism downfall is just the lack of um, ability to stay with the run and or feature the run. That guy loves to drop back and pass, which in the CFL game it's hard to argue with. He's also had a lot of his success, which is hard to argue with as well. So dislike would like to see the Lions, feature the run game just a little bit more. Although it's hard when your quarterback's on a almost record-breaking pace. He will fall off his pace now. I would think he's still over 6,000-yard pace, but I know he was 10 yards short of it's not Warren Moon's, Doug Flutie's, I believe, all-time record for most passing yards in a season by a CFL quarterback. I think he was 6,009 yards. He was on pace for, while Doug Flutie had 6,019 yards in a season. So fall off that pace after only having 200 yards here tonight. But my last dislike is not being able to generate any pressure on the quarterback once again, other than 2 sacks. Sacks have been down this season. Jake Mayer did a good job of getting the ball out. That being said, I would like to see the Lions start to affect the game up front a little bit more now. The secondary is doing their job. I think I like what I've seen from Ben Vladeck, Bola combo. That now that he's been in without Josh Woods for a few weeks, we've seen Ryder Varga out there a little bit more, Tracer Nays had himself quietly a good season at linebacker, at that Sam linebacker position. Uh, I would like to see some more from the defensive line. Sione Tama finally gets on the board, which is a good sign. Josh Archibald, that was one of the keys of the game. Get after Jake Mayer, as well as I would like to see Josh Archibald be on the field a little bit more, which he was here tonight, getting a little bit more snaps. Wasn't able to get to the quarterback, but I think with opportunity, he's going to continue to do his thing, continue to show up, make timely plays, make impact plays throughout the game. So my last dislike will be just not being able to get after the quarterback consistently. I think if the Lions are able to do so, they're going to take another step defensively and be an even scarier game, be an even scarier team. And that's probably the best thing. That's the thing that gives me the most confidence that the Lions are 5-2 going into the bye week. They still haven't played their best football. They still haven't played a full 60 minutes yet this season. So once they put it all together, hopefully going down the stretch here, I think they're going to be a very tough out, and hopefully are going to represent the Western Division in the Grey Cup this year and come out on top would be the best. So let's get into likes. Hard to say a lot of likes here on the show tonight, folks. If we're being honest, if anybody has some, let me know in the chat. Um, Maybe the first time that we have more dislikes than likes here on the channel. We're going to go number one with the easy fruit, the low-hanging fruit with Sean White, 3 for 3 on the night. Once again, Mr. Automatic, what can we say about Sean White? Continues to impress and continues to do his thing. Now, to be honest, after that, folks, a lot of um, hard to really pull anything from dislikes offensively, man. There was so many penalties, 11 penalties for the BC Lions, sacked a couple times. Vernon Adams, I don't know how many official 2 and outs. I want to say 7 or 8, maybe even 9, 10. Could be close to double digits. I will, I guess, say Sione Tehama would be a like. Him finally getting on the board with a couple sacks here. Other than that, I will end the likes, dislikes there. Hard to pull anything to like after tonight's performance by the BC Lions. Um, you know, Even defensively, at times they were, holding the team in there, but Jake Mayer, 25 of 32, only 7 incompletions, 307 yards, 3 touchdowns. Wasn't really um, you know, um, resisted whatsoever passing the football, which is just tough to see. It felt like that, and then looking at the final stat line here, 25 of 32, that is a tough thing to see. And I would imagine, Brian Phillips will probably over there on the sideline. I know he doesn't have much hair, but probably just wanting to rip out all of his hair. Watching Jake Mayer being effective when they were able to. I know Calgary was able to, or Calgary, had their moments of frustration as well, offensively not being able to get anything going, but when they were able to, Jake Mayer made it count. And game balls, hard to give any game balls. Maybe we'll go with one or two, or we'll go with one. I don't know if Blake's still in here. You can give yours, Blake, but I will go with, once again, probably 2 out of 4 weeks here. Maybe even 3 out of 4 weeks. Sean White, I know, got mentioned last week, going 7 for 7 versus Saskatchewan Roughriders, but I'm going to give my game ball once again to Sean White. I know I gave it to him versus the Edmonton Elks at home. I know he got a honorable mention last week, so Sean White just continues to be, Mr. Automatic, the man himself, on a absolute heater right now. Don't want to say too much because you don't want to jinx him. Don't want to say the wrong thing, but I will give my game ball to Sean White for the BC Lions here tonight after their 25-24 loss to the Calgary Stampeders, falling to 5-2 now on the season, slipping to second place in the Western Division. But that being said, they are going into their bye week. So if the Saskatchewan Roughriders are able to win, they will hold on to first place, taking the 1-game lead going into week number 9. That being said, if Saskatchewan loses, BC still has the same amount of wins going into week number 9 and will be all as well. I believe going to, it could be actually hosting Winnipeg after the bye week. I should maybe take a look at this, who the Lions are facing. So as we kind of wind things down here for the show, folks, you guys will see us. You'll see me actually once again on Wednesday night Not sure if Blake's going to be able to tune in fully. He is going to be, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, at his little guy's birthday Wednesday night. So happy birthday, Jack. Happy early birthday, Jack. Hopefully, you guys are having a good time. But that being said, the show does not stop for anybody, folks. I will be here Wednesday night holding things down. We'll be joined by a guest or two. Hopefully, I will definitely be joined by Shane Ryan, who maybe will slide in as a co host that night. And hoping to have another guest on the channel who will not be named as of now, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, folks, that he is let's say, a bigger guest than I'm hoping to line up, but a guy that will be able to talk some CJFL and CFL football as well. So stay tuned. We will see you guys Wednesday night. The Lions are on a bye week, so I will get the week off. Blake and I will get the week off from post game shows. That being said, maybe we will have Nick Kowalski, Julio Garibetta, somebody like that, the Moj. For any Lions fans on social media, on Instagram, YouTube, tuning in tonight, let me know in the chats who you guys would like to maybe see. Blake and I sit down with, chat some BC Lions football through 7 games at their first bye week, and just kind of go through a general 30, 40-minute episode. We'll do a live show type thing where people that can join us in the chat can let us know how they feel of just what we've seen offensively, defensively, special teams. Take a step back from the team, take a more of a bird's eye approach, I guess, from things of right now. I know Blake's he's a little bit frustrated. I'm sure feeling like most of the fan base right now of this being a little bit too long, but once you take a step back, the Lions you know, are in pretty good damn position to continue to do what they've been doing all season. Look at a team like Winnipeg, who just lost to Saskatchewan in fourth place, have a lot of uphill fighting to do with Calgary not being a step forward by any means. I think Calgary's going to keep fighting. Calgary's going to try to fend off Winnipeg for that third position in that final playoff spot in the Western Division. I think at the top, BC and Saskatchewan are clearly the best teams in up there in the CFL, definitely the best teams in the Western Division. And I think BC's right there with them going into the bye week. But all teams, Montreal, Saskatchewan, up top of the leaderboard, if you will, or the standings in the CFL, have a lot to be desired, and a lot to be fixed and worked on. But BC's flying high right now. We just came off last week of BC, everybody talking about them going up to first in the power rankings. I'm sure they're going to slide now going into the bye week. After next week, they won't have an opportunity to really show themselves. But I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going into their week 9 matchup versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and maybe third or fourth in the power rankings, because they haven't been heard from in a few games, and just the nature of power rankings every week. Personally, why I've stuck to the power rankings monthly now throughout the CFL season. Of things are going to change now, so week to week, it is a good opportunity to you know get people talking, generate buzz and excitement for teams and stuff like that. It's also a good way to shake the bee's nest up, or shake the beehive up. If you're a team like Saskatchewan, if you're a team like BC who might fall out of the top three, or whatever it may be, Montreal who falls out of the top position, and fans in Montreal are saying, well, what the heck's going on? We are in a bye week. How did we fall off? Obviously, they lost going into their bye week, but I would expect the same kind of treatment to the BC Lions going into their bye week. Probably fall out of that top spot. Same like Montreal. Curious to see if Montreal goes back up to the top, Saskatchewan goes to second, and BC goes all the way down to third, or what kind of happens there. But if you're a Lions fan, if you're a Lions supporter, I think all is well, and the Lions will be just fine heading out of their bye week. Hopefully, they're able to be well rested and ready to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What is it? August 1st, which is a Thursday night, um, which is a tough game. I'm not the biggest fan of Thursday nighters, but the Lions on the road for their second of 3 straight road games. They will play the Edmonton Elks in Edmonton the following week, August 11th, and then get back home and play the Bombers after that. So that'll do it for tonight's post-game show, folks. Appreciate everybody tuning in on Instagram, on YouTube as well. For anybody tuning in on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you guys are tuning in on YouTube. You guys can follow, or you can find the show afterwards. You guys don't have to tune in specifically during the live. You guys can go to the YouTube channel, go over to the live tab, hit the live tab. You guys can find all of our live shows there. That's the weekly shows, the post game shows, all that good stuff. So head over there, consume it, and enjoy it throughout the week. If you guys are, Lions fans throughout the bye week here, you're not able to tune in tonight, maybe throw it on throughout the week while you're at work or something like that to enjoy. So we will see you guys Wednesday night, and then after that, we will see you guys a week later for the post game show after that as well. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you guys Wednesday night.